on this Saturday morning, November 1st. Hope you guys all had a great Halloween. We are into November, believe it or not. Last 2 months of the year, kind of crazy. And we're, November is where I don't know, it kind of feels like, the beginning of the end of the football season's coming. So, but we still got a lot of weeks to play. We are into week 9. We don't have that many more of your fantasy regular season, though. We have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, just 6 weeks. Just 6 weeks until the fantasy regular season is done for most people. Not necessarily for everyone. So kind of bittersweet, that's for sure. A little bit bittersweet, but we're here for the next hour or so, maybe a little bit less. And we are here talking about week 9 and any start sits that you may have here. So yeah, drop the questions in the chat. I'm just kind of starting to look through my teams, getting a little bit of a head start there to see if there's any start sit stuff. Man, I'm down bad in a couple teams. So it's tough. Only 4 teams on a bye, but just a lot of injuries, like Swift, Travis Hunter going to IR. Not really sure what that is. Cooper Kupp tweaked his hamstring and he's questionable. So there's a lot of I don't know, just a lot of up in the air stuff here that we don't really know what is going on. Smitty, half PPR, start 1, Hunt, ETN, and Monangai. Hunt, ETN, and Monangai. I mean, I'd probably go Monangai. That's my gut instinct is to go Monangai here, considering that Swift is out. So that feels like a pretty good start there, right? Half PPR. How would I order these guys? I think I would order them. I mean, it's nice with Pacheco's going to miss too, right? So, man, these it sucks that you can only start one of these guys. It really, really does suck. You know what? I think I take that back. I think I actually still go ETN here. At least that's how I would play it. I would say they're all really, really close. They're all relatively close. They're all going to get the workload, right? But ETN going up against the Raiders, I think they're middle of the pack kind of fantasy points allowed. So, nothing to worry about. And I'm fairly confident that ETN is going to get the work here, right? And I know he's coming off like a few bad games, but he had tough matchups in Kansas City, Seattle, and the Rams. And they should be in a relatively neutral or positive game script. ETN's still getting the bulk of the work here. I think I may go still ETN, but I don't necessarily feel super confident that he's going to be the best one. I mean, Cincinnati's a nice matchup for Monangai. I mean, maybe you just play the matchup here. I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to go with. I think I'm gonna steer clear of Kareem Hunt. Could he find himself in the end zone? Absolutely, but he kind of feels like if he doesn't get in the end zone, he kind of feels like a 15 carry, 60-yard kind of guy. I think they're going to throw the ball mostly to Brashard Smith. And so, he kind of feels a little bit touchdown or bust there. Monangai has the best matchup. I wouldn't fault you if you want to go him. I probably still lean ETN, but if you went Monangai, I wouldn't fault you at all. So kind of a toss-up there, really. What's going on, Kevin? It's pretty a bye in Dynasty, a lot of knick-knack injuries. I'd say for the most part, yeah. Like, when it comes to quarterbacks, and I kind of stand by this, I tend to just tear down as much as possible with quarterbacks when I can. Like, that's my strategy when it comes. If I don't have one of the elite guys, and to me, the elite guys are Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels. Drake May is in that elite category, in my opinion, just because of what he can do on the ground as well. Like I think he can give you. Let's see where's he at this year, rushing stats. So he is averaging. He is averaging 31 yards on the ground. So in his career, he basically averages about just over 30 yards on the ground, right? Which is really, really good. That's where it starts to become a significant difference making thing. Like he's on pace basically each year for right around 550 rushing yards. So I put him in that elite category. I think Mahomes is probably still there. Hurts, I would still put Hurts there. And it kind of stops there. I know some people are going to say Justin Herbert. I don't know if I have Herbert in that elite category. He's definitely in the next tier after those guys. And, I want him over a lot of these other guys. But, like, I would happily tear down from a guy like, let's just say, Jordan Love. I would go down to Jordan Love, to Brock Purdy, and if I can get something on top of that, those are the types of moves I'd love to make. Because I don't think there's really, honestly, like in a vacuum, I would want Jordan Love, right? In a vacuum, I'd want Jordan Love. But when they're both healthy, both playing, I don't see a huge difference between Love and Purdy. One can be better than the other any given year. And, I don't really see a huge separation between them. Whoever's better that year is probably only by a couple of points per game if everything goes right. And so if I can get something on top of that. So, I mean, you look at Purdy, according to Keep Trade Cut, he's QB 17. And so he is kind of near the bottom of that tier of guys of like Love, Stroud, Bo Nix, if you want to throw Bo Nix in there, Goff, Darnold, right? So I think he is kind of a buy low, in my opinion. So a lot of knick-knack injuries for sure. And, he also, I would say, like, Brock Purdy hasn't necessarily, like, looked great since, like this year, he's obviously only played in a couple of games, and he's averaged about 19, just over 19 points per game, which is fine. Like you look at that, and you look at who's averaging just over 19 points per game. It's guys like Stafford, Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love is averaging 19 a game. So, like, that's kind of that tier of guys. So you have Jacobs can only start one. Yeah, I have to bench one. Pickens, Pittman, or Odunze. Who do you? Oof, man, you have to bench one of those. It's funny. I was going to ask, like, is this PPR? But, like, all these guys are kind of similar in that, like, none of them are big PPR guys this year. Pittman, we kind of think of him that way, but he hasn't really been a big PPR guy this year. He has, more than 6 catches just twice this year. It has coming back-to-back games. It is PPR. You have to bench one. Let me look through my rankings here. My gut instinct is that I'm benching Pickens, but I don't love it, man. I really, really don't love it. I'm probably going to start Rome because of the matchup, right? You get the Bengals matchup, although the Bengals, like, in terms of points given up to wide receivers, it's not great. They give up a lot of points to tight ends, and they give up a lot of points to running backs. But to wide receivers, they're more middle of the pack, actually. They're in like I think in the top like 15 or something. But it's still the Bengals. They're going to give up a lot of points. If Joe Flacco's playing, I like Odunze more because I think it could be more of a shootout rather than just like domination. I don't know if we have Joe Flacco news. It kind of sounds like his status up in the air. It says he feels good. Man, if he plays and he's healthy, I like Odunze a lot more because I think that game could be a little bit of a shootout. I kind of lean benching Pickens. To me, it's between Pickens and Pittman. But if we're looking at like who has the worst matchup, and if you just want to use that as the tiebreaker, technically it is the Bengals for wide receivers is the worst matchup, which sounds kind of crazy, right, to say. No, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Technically, the Cardinals are the worst matchup, and that leads to Pickens. But none of these matchups are like, oh, you got to avoid them type of matchups. Like when we talk about matchups and stuff like that, like it's like the top few on each side. So like if you're within like the if you're in the top 3 or 4 most points or least points given up, that's when you start looking at matchups. After that, like it doesn't really matter too much to me personally. I mean, if we think about game script here, if Flacco plays, I like the Adunze matchup. If we think about game script, I would say like the Pickens, the Cowboys Cardinals matchup is the least likely to be a shootout if Kyler Murray's not healthy, right? Maybe I'm wrong about that. I think I lean Pickens, man, but it is tough. It is tough. It is tough. I think I'm for sure Dunze, and then flip a coin between Pickens and Pittman. Honestly, flip a coin between all these guys, but that is tough. Vidal is a must start this week. Start over Rico and Addison. I would say, it's interesting about Rico. They're talking about wanting to give him more work and bulk of the carries and stuff, and they very well might. I would definitely be starting Vidal over both those guys. If I had to choose just one of them, I think I lean starting Dowdle or starting Vidal over Addison. Like I would start Dowdle. If I had to start 2 of those 3, I would start Vidal and Dowdle, I think. So although I don't love Dowdle's matchup, don't love his matchup there. Maybe you just go Addison for that reason in PPR, right? But yeah, if that's not the question, if you're just saying if Vidal to start over those guys, then yeah, for sure. You're starting Vidal over those guys 100%. Keep the questions coming, guys. Sorry, I'm just reading something here. So keep the questions coming here. We got a 4 teams on by, no Europe games, no double headers or anything. So we got a pretty good Sunday slate. The afternoon game, they kind of like cleared it out just for the Bills Chiefs, right? You got only 3 games in the afternoon. Rams, Saints, Raiders, Jags. Like no one really wants to watch those games. Bills Chiefs is obviously like the one that's like the headliner of the group there for sure. What else? Do we have a good slate this week? Texans, Broncos, Bengals. Not really. Not a really good slate of games. Next week we do have European games. We have, I think it's in Germany or Spain or one of those. So, but yeah, hopefully you guys had a good Halloween if you celebrate it. I'm sure that's why we got less people on. Halloween on a Friday is a big day for people for sure. Yeah, and it's been a interesting fantasy year. Just kind of like reflecting on what's been happening this year and stuff like that. Like the Jonathan Taylor is like on an insane pace here, man. Like this is one of the best running back seasons. He's on pace to have the best running back season we've seen since Christian McCaffrey, which is crazy to think about. 27.1 PPR points. He's clearing the next guy, which is McCaffrey, by 2.5 points per game. He's just to put it into perspective a little bit. Saquon Barkley last year, 22.2 PPR points per game. Jonathan Taylor's averaging 5 more points per game than Saquon Barkley last year. Christian McCaffrey in 2023, 24.5 points in PPR per game. Jonathan Taylor's clearing him by almost 3 points, 2.5 points. So kind of crazy. What Jonathan Taylor is doing here. And really, he's not even doing it with like catches, right? Like that's what's crazy with like, in half and standard, he's even more of a monster. Like he's getting his couple of catches each game, but he only has 25 catches on the year. He's only averaging about three catches a game. Like nothing too crazy, right? I always liked Jonathan Taylor. I always thought people like slept on him a little bit because and the thing I always pointed to was like his 2021 season was one of the best pure rushing seasons we've ever seen. 1,800 yards rushing is one of the greatest that we've ever seen. And 20 total touchdowns, 18 rushing touchdowns. And then you kind of look at last year and you look at Jonathan Taylor, and it's like the guy had almost 1,600 total yards and 12 touchdowns on a terrible, dysfunctional offense that couldn't, have a quarterback to stabilize them. And by the way, he did that in 14 games. He was averaging, like his 2024 season was not that far off from his 2021 season when he was a monster. He averaged 102.2 rushing yards per game in 2024. 2021, he averaged 106.5, right? And so he only averaged 4 yards less rushing per game there. He was catching the ball a little bit less, but he had 12 touchdowns. He wasn't that far off, but no one expected the big thing no one expected, to your point, Kevin, is like is that we didn't expect this offense to be honestly like kind of historically good up until this point. Colts offense has been historically good. Like we were thinking best case scenario, this offense is average, and Jonathan Taylor has, he has a 1,500 rushing yard season with 12 touchdowns and 35 catches or something, right? Like he's not even, by the way, averaging a crazy amount. I mean, he is averaging a crazy amount rushing, never mind. But he's on pace for over 1,800 yards rushing. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane what he's doing. He was cheap in the offseason. I think it's a lesson learned, man. I think it's a lesson learned of like, we football in general is so unpredictable that we really have to take the things that we know are true and we really have to run with them. We have to run with them a little bit more. We have to make moves based on those a little bit more. I always talk about the process, right? And in Dynasty, like to me, playing by the process is the way to go, right? Like, should you sell this? Should you sell Oronde Gadsden for a first round pick? You probably should, because we've seen players that burn bright fast, right? And quickly, right? And they come and they go. Isaiah Likely is a good example. Oronde Gadsden's all the way up to, I think, tight end 6, according to Keep Trade Cut. Remember, Isaiah Likely was up there, tight end 5. Isaiah Likely got up there after his one game in last year where he went off against the Chiefs. So the process is to trade these guys. Are you going to be right every single time? No, but you take some of that unpredictability out of the game a little bit. And so like someone like Jonathan Taylor, we know he's a good running back. We knew that since basically his rookie year. Like we've known that Jonathan Taylor was a good running back. He had a great rookie year where he came on kind of late and was awesome. Followed that up by an amazing sophomore campaign. And then, he had a couple down years due to injury after that. Injury, contract stuff, holding out. And then 2024, he was really good. He just missed a few games. And then, by the way, he won a lot of people fantasy championships. And then this year, it's all coming together, right? So, like, we need to kind of, I think, look at things like we know that this player is good. I'm going to bank on him, having a big season type of thing. Like we need to play a little bit more towards that rather than trying to predict things that we just don't know, because it's just so unpredictable. Yeah. Start a tight end, Hawk Jawan Janu, non-tight end premium. Been needing an upgrade on this squad, but my weakest position. Non-tight end premium, I assume it's just PPR here. I was a little bit, I know, I know Freiermuth was on the injury report, but he got cleared, right? He got cleared to play. Yeah, he was been full practice. The problem with the Steelers tight ends, I think Jonu's the best for fantasy, but they rotate their tight ends, like 4 of them. Like, man, I used to play in a fantasy baseball league where you didn't draft individual pitchers, you drafted team pitching. So you just say like, I'll take the Toronto Blue Jays pitching, right? And so you don't have an individual pitcher, so you just get their pitching each and every day. If you could do the team tight ends for the Steelers, they would be awesome, right? They would be awesome. I'm probably going to avoid Jonnu. I'm going to go with Hawkinson, I think. Hawkinson or Juwan. I think Hawkinson's the better player, but there's a lot of uncertainty there with potentially McCarthy playing. So if you want to just go Juwan Johnson, I mean, we look at Juwan Johnson. I know people soured on him quite a bit. He started off the season hot and on fire. And then he had kind of a down 3 weeks, 3 for 28, 2 for 17, 2 for 15. And now he's kind of been back up to what he was doing in the beginning of the year, right? The big thing with him is like his usage never changed too much. Like he's playing over 75% of the snaps. He's playing less with Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill back, but he's still playing enough to be good. So I think I'd probably just go, man, but they're starting Tyler Shuck, huh? What did what was the let me see here. I'm trying to look at how many times. So Shuck, he targeted Juwan 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So basically all of like Juwan Johnson's targets last week almost came with Shuck. So I think I go Juwan Johnson. I feel pretty confident with that. You know, we could check it down a lot. That plays into Juwan Johnson's role there. But yeah, we'll keep going here for a little bit. If you know we don't get more questions or stuff like that, we'll take off a little bit early. But appreciate everyone. Make sure to hit the like button if you are watching. Helps kids' eyes on the video. And it's the most you can do to kind of help us. So we appreciate you there. I need to do another dynasty kind of update here and just looking at some of these. Like Jackson Dart's a really interesting one. Like what do we do with Jackson Dart? In dynasty, he's all the way up to QB 10, which I get. Is he kind of a sell high? I mean, like, are we just like how much would you need on top of Cam Ward to trade Jackson Dart for Cam Ward? To me, I don't need a whole lot. Now I will preface this by saying, like, we do have to recognize, like, in dynasty, there's a kind of like a perceived inflation in value, and a guy like Dart has a lot of that. Like playing in New York, just his personality, the way he plays, like his is so much all that stuff is so much more attractive than like Cam Ward playing in Tennessee, right? And so there's always going to be that bump for Jackson Dart, so you do have to kind of take that into account, and that does kind of play into my rankings a little bit. But I don't think it's too crazy to say like down tiering and trying to get Ward. I still think Ward is probably the better quarterback, right? Now for fantasy, that's different. Because for fantasy, Jackson Dart runs the ball. I think Ward can run the ball, and I think that will come kind of with a little bit of it will come with kind of the maturation of his game and stuff like that, learning to take off and run and stuff. But I still think Cam Ward's a better quarterback than him. So yeah, stuff like that's interesting. Emeka Ibuka all the way up to wide receiver 8. Just looking at some of the rookies and stuff. Travis Hunter, where are we at with Travis Hunter, man? Like, that's a little bit nerve-wracking. It's a non-contact knee injury. They haven't really said anything else there. Yeah. Interesting stuff, man. Interesting. Cam Scattaboo, like, with his ankle injury, that's a pretty bad injury. He feels like a very short career. Are we going to get a TreVeyon Henderson week this week without Ramondre Stevenson? Man, I'm very curious to see where TreVeyon Henderson goes if he doesn't have a big week this week. or like at least a good week, because he kind of has the backfield. He kind of has the backfield a little bit. Now they could use Dearness Johnson, Terrell Jennings, right, and stuff like that. But like, yeah, this is gonna be interesting. BTJ gets more targets. I hope so. This is kind of what happened last year, right? Like Christian Kirk got hurt, Evan Ingram got hurt, and then BTJ just went off. Yeah. The problem with BTJ is like Travis Hunter up until last week wasn't really getting a whole lot of he wasn't getting a whole lot of work, and BTJ still wasn't good. I mean, Travis Hunter before last week was basically, he had 10, 15, 17, 23, 31 targets in 6 games. So he's getting like basically 5 targets a game. And BTJ still wasn't good. I don't think BTJ is also healthy either. So that's an issue. So I don't know, man. I'm a little bit worried. Like BTJ's getting targets and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's just because Hunter's out, BTJ is gonna be good. I hope so. I hope so. If Hendo doesn't finish well, stock goes down for sure. Yeah, it definitely goes down. It goes. What I think you'll see a drastic fall if we don't see a big, like, if we still don't see him getting a lot of usage. That's going to be the key there. If he doesn't play 60% of the snaps or more, that's going to be very concerning. He's averaging 32.3% of the snaps this season. His most in a single game is 50. The last 3 weeks, he's averaging closer to like 20% of the snaps. Like you expect rookie usage to go up. He started the first 4 weeks of the season. He started averaging right around 35-ish% of the snaps. Then then in week 5, he jumped to 50%. And we thought, okay, here we go. Right. This is going to be the rookie. Takes about a month to get going, blah, blah, blah. And from that point on, he went 29.7, 13.8, 20.6. That's with Antonio Gibson, the Antonio Gibson injury, by the way. Like, he's gone down. And so what's going on there, right? And so if we don't see 60%, if we only see 40 or even 50% of the snaps, even if he has like a decent game, I still think it's going to be quite concerning. It's going to be pretty concerning there. So I don't know, man. I was excited about Travion. I felt like Travion was one of those running backs, and I still kind of feel this way, but I feel like he's one of those guys that, like, the reason I liked him a lot for redraft and year 1 in Dynasty was that he doesn't feel like a guy. He doesn't feel like a guy that he doesn't need 20 touches a game. He can do it in 12 to 15 with 3 or 4 of those being catches. But honestly, he hasn't been great with his touches. He's averaging 4.3 yards per carry, which is fine. I expected it to be more. He's averaging 6.2 yards per reception, which isn't great. So I don't know. PFTH94. Should I play Niners defense or Raiders this week? Niners. I don't think the Raiders defense is that great. Is Max Crosby playing? I know he was kind of like banged up. He was kind of banged up there. No, he's going to play. Okay. I still go 49ers, though. 49ers against the Giants, Raiders. I think they're a better defense, and they have a better matchup. So I would go out and look, though. Like, obviously, if the Rams are out there, I'm sure the Rams are rostered. If the Chargers are out there, took the Niners. Okay. Yeah, if the Chargers are out there, I would easily, I would happily go the Chargers. I'm trying to think of some defenses that, like, aren't that great. Jacksonville, I don't mind Jacksonville this week against the Raiders. I'd probably go Jacksonville against the Raiders over the Niners against the Giants. So if they're out there, maybe look at them. Those are probably it's like Rams are obvious. Lions, maybe the Lions are out there. I don't think so. Packers are going to be rostered. Broncos are going to be rostered. Patriots are going to be rostered. Seahawks, Texans, all those guys are probably going to be rostered. But check if the Chargers or the Jags are out there. I probably would go both. I would definitely go both those defenses. All those are rostered. Okay, yeah, that's fine then. That's fine. Sounds like your league likes to. There's a lot of teams holding multiple defenses or something. I don't know. I think it's kind of a waste of a roster spot to do that, but I know a lot of people do that. A lot of leagues and teams do that. So I think the 49ers are fine, by the way. I think I would have them top 12. Those names I like. I would take the 49ers over the Colts. I would take the 49ers over like the Bears, Falcons, Giants. So I think you're a top 12 defense. So if you play in a 12-team league, I think you're fine this week. So yeah, people do that all the time. People do that. It's crazy. Like it's such a there's obviously football and fantasy football is super unpredictable, but like there's a lot of little things that you can do. There's a lot of little things that you can do to really like improve your odds, and one of them is just like not rostering multiple defenses, multiple tight ends, even multiple quarterbacks if possible, especially if you have like an elite quarterback or tight end, and just like holding on to these handcuff running backs and stuff. Like it goes so far, man. It goes so far. It's a little thing, but it goes so far. You know, I still play in a league where people people are drafting defenses. Like it's our original home league. So we have a lot of people who like they've played fantasy football for a while, but they're not like obsessed with it like maybe we are and stuff, and think about it all day. And they're still drafting defenses like in round 7 or 8, stuff like that. It's crazy. Sorry guys, I just need to check something here. Okay, I think we're good. Asking they start Gadsden over Laporta. I would still go Laporta. But I'm not saying it's a slam dunk. Like the consensus has Gadsden. Now is what's his name? Lad McConkey is going to play. Okay. I think I would still go Laporta, but I don't hate starting Gadsden like against the Titans. You know, let's see where the Titans at in tight end points allowed. Titans are near the bottom, like they're in the top 7 of least amount, top 7 or 8 least amount of points given up to tight ends. But that's always dependent on who they played as well. I know they've played Tyler Warren a couple times. I still go Laporta, but I don't hate it. I mean, Laporta has also been really good the last 3 weeks. 7 for 68, 7 for 164 and a touch, 5 for 77 and a touch. You know, they're playing the Vikings. So yeah. Consensus does have Gadsden over Laporta though. I have Gadsden and Kincaid, and I don't want to drop Kincaid. Yeah, I get that. I get like, you know, it's all like situational, right? So like, there's a lot of tight ends this year that you drafted late or picked up off the waiver wire that have been good, right? And so like a lot of the top tight ends, Bowers comes to mind, hurt, Kittle, hurt. Trey McBride's been fine, but he hasn't been like maybe what we drafted. He's been good, but he hasn't been what we drafted him to be potentially. But then you get like just looking at the top tight ends this year: Jake Ferguson, late round pick; Tucker Kraft, late round pick; Tyler Warren, late round pick; Goddard, late round pick; Fannin, late round pick; Hunter Henry, late round pick; Kyle Pitts, late round pick; Ertz, Juwan Johnson, Aronde Gadsden. Those are the top 12 tight ends in total points in PPR. I would say only McBride and Kelsey were like early to mid-round picks. All the other ones were like maybe after rounds 8 or 9 or something like that. So what that causes is a lot of people who drafted Laporta, who drafted Bowers, Kittle, they have, multiple good tight ends. Like you don't want to drop Kittle and Laporta and stuff like that, but you also have, a couple of good guys. So there, yeah, I get it. There's definitely times when it's okay to roster multiple tight ends. The problem is it's like, you'll obviously need them when one of those is on a bye, but like you'll never, you're probably not flexing both of those guys unless you play in a tight end premium. So it's just like, you're holding on to those guys, but it's a little bit of a dead roster spot kind of, but I get it. You're also holding those tight ends away from people. Tight end's been good this year. Like in terms of just like a lot of options, man. A lot of options. Any other questions, guys? If not, probably take off. Got some work to do all day today, really. So can take off a little bit early. We will be live again tomorrow, an hour before the games, which is of course new. The time changes, but it doesn't change for me, but it changes for you guys, or for most of you. Dahir, hopefully I'm saying that right. Full PPR start 2, Debo, ETN, Tracy, or Hendy. Ooh, that's a fun one. Full PPR, Debo, Henderson, ETN, or Tracy. I think I probably go. Man, I want to trust TreVeyon Henderson, but like, it's one of those things. Like, they still could use like D'Ernest Johnson too much or Terrell Jet. Like, I'm just nervous, man. I'm nervous. I think I'm gonna go ETN and Tracy. I'm a little bit worried about Debo, in general, and just Jaden Daniels is back. To me, I just, because you have good options here. Like I'm fully acknowledging TreVeyon Henderson could be awesome tomorrow. And there's a couple of my leagues where I'm starting him because I have to. Like I'm starting him because our listener leagues, we play in deeper leagues and stuff like that. I'm not starting Parker or Samaje Perine over TreVeyon Henderson, right? Like there's a couple of leagues where I absolutely have to start him, and I'm happy about it because I think he could be good. But if I'm in a league like this where I have really good options here, I'm going to go with the good options because I'm not 100% certain that they're just going to use him and he's going to be really, really good. So, yeah, I'm going to go ETN and Tracy there. They're all projected similarly, but I love Hendy. I love him too. But like, I'm telling you, man, like, hang on one second. Let me check something. So they have they have Terrell Jennings, right? That they've been, he's been on the roster and stuff like that. Like he's been playing. So he's been playing over the last 2 weeks about 10-12% of the snaps, right? TreVeyon Henderson's only been playing in about 20-ish% of the snaps. Like Terrell Jennings has been playing about half, so he's going to get a little bit more work, right? Is he going to take some of the early down stuff? He's more of a big running back. D'Ernest Johnson's going to come in, and D'Ernest Johnson's going to come in and take a little bit. Like, I don't think it's just guaranteed, like, that TreVeyon Henderson's going to come in and he's going to play 70% of the snaps. I think he still could float around 40 or 50%, which I don't love. So I love TreVeyon. If you wanted to start him, I don't fault you because I fall prey to this all the time where it's just like, man, you have a feeling about guys. If you have that feeling about Henderson, go for it. I think I personally would still start Tracy and ETN. So, hey man, start 2, Dowdle, Monangai, Bam. Half PPR. Ooh, that's a fun one. Half PPR, Dowdle, Monangai, and we're starting 2 here. I think I'm gonna go with Monangai. They're all so close. I think what I'm going to do here, Andrew. So I think, well, I don't know who the best running back is here. It's probably Dowdle, but I think I'm going to play matchups here. Like they're all so close to me. They're all low end, low end, mid, tight RB2s that have potential that are going to get a lot of work. I think what I would just do is I would play who has the toughest matchup, or I would bench who has the toughest matchup. And so you get Bam Knight against the Cowboys. They give up the 5th most points to running backs. You have Monangai against the Bengals. They give up the most points to running backs. And then you have Dowdle playing the Packers. They give up the 3rd least. I think that's my tiebreaker. So that's the way I would go there, Andrew. So tough, though. They're all close. They are all close. All right, guys. I think we're going to take off then here. Enjoy your Saturday, November 1st, your Dia de los Muertos if you celebrate it. College football if you watch it. UFC. We got Game 7 of the World Series tonight, so we got a lot of stuff to watch. We'll be live again tomorrow, an hour before the games. If you have other stuff for us to other questions for us, do you think Hampton will come back and be relevant? If he comes back, I think he will be relevant. Yes, I think he'd be kind of a must start if he's healthy. The issue is, well, it's not really an issue, but like if the Chargers are going to make the playoffs, and let's just say the issue is, when does Hampton come back? Does he come back in the fantasy playoffs? Does he come back before that, after that? Chargers, if they make the playoffs, they're going to want to get Hampton going. So you could see them work him in the month of December. So I do. I think he's a pretty decent. That is tragic. I think he's a pretty decent trade for if your team is really good, and your team's doing well, and you can buy super low on him. I think he's a pretty decent trade target. So, yeah, I think he is a pretty decent target to go out and get. But anyways, guys, we're going to be taking off here. Appreciate everyone. We'll see you guys all tomorrow.